We're going through a very painful, I feel, for our world, phase of the healing of heartlessness. Places, events, and people where feeling and care and empathy for others is absent. Now, I know we're in 2020, so we've definitely been seeing that for several years in very big ways. But we're going through a deepening in that phase right now. So the healing of heartlessness is going to be something that you're going to be looking at things in the outside world and having deeper emotional reactions to things that may not have touched you in quite the same way before, but also because we as a collective are beginning to allow these things to rise in a different way. Doesn't necessarily mean we're solving them this month or that they're going to solve very quickly, but we're in this period of allowing the truth to rise. And the truth can be very ugly when it's heartless, because heart frequency, when it is present, it harmonizes, it gives, it's life-giving, life-generating. When someone is out of their heart and exercising their will, their fire, their anger, their defense, their wound, basically, you could put all of those words in their wound, we see some very destructive and difficult and painful things for us to witness on a human level. So even if you're of the belief that, well, everything's spiritual and everything's meant to be, even if you're normally that way, many of you are going to be a bit more, oh, wow, hang on a second. There's some really big heart pain playing out here, and I want to witness it, I want to feel it, I want to have conversation about it, I want to move towards action around it. So there is a rise of that happening on the planet, and it's okay, you don't have to solve everything tomorrow or know what your action plan is, but just be aware that it's beginning to move, it's beginning to rise. So the healing of heartlessness, places, events, and people where feeling toward one another is absent, is going to be very up in our faces. It already is, but June is going to be a month where this really starts to circulate, not necessarily just our seeing of the events, but a rising of what can we do to shift this? And it's going to put many of you into deeply inspired action in the coming months and years. But first of all, you might need to see it, feel it, and know you're like, no, this I don't accept. This is something I want to put some of my life energy and my life force towards. This is something that needs to change, and I can do it. So that's going to be an awakening in itself for many of you who are change makers, which leads me to those of you who are change makers. You might identify as an activist. You might be a very fiery type. You might be I go out and get things done. I make change. I'm a leader. It's going to be an interesting month for many of you because the message I got is that you're going to have a more yin month than usual. But like all good fiery types, there's a lot going on when you're yin, when you're quiet, when you're internal. There's going to be a deepening of your internal wisdom. While you quiet down, while you pull the fire in, while you step back a little bit from your normal action, there is going to be a chance for all of this to rewire and for divinely inspired action to come in so that you can take it in the world. And this will play out over the next few years. So those of you who are change makers, activists, fiery types, extroverts, there's going to be a beautiful, meditative, deepening opportunity for you in the month of June. So take it. And on the flip side, because things often mirror on the planet, things often play off extremes. Introverts, quieter types, the more sensitive, I don't like to put myself out there. Some of you are going to be forced into speaking up and taking actions. Some of you are going to do it very willingly, but I get very clearly that some of you are kind of going to be pushed into it. You might not want to use your voice in that way. You might not want to have to put a boundary to this person. You might not want to have to dismantle a relationship or something that you had going that you'd committed to, but you're going to be forced to do something that's a little different for you. So if you're traditionally a little bit quieter, a little bit introverted, a little bit more withdrawn, you're going to feel pulled out of yourself, usually by circumstances and events. I kind of feel that like 70-80% of you, it's going to be circumstances and events that will pull you out. 20 to 30% of you, you might just choose to feel emboldened. So it's going to be a very interesting difference for those two personality types, aspects. And for those of you who identify with those parts, you might just find those aspects inside you just come online a bit more.